I got pregnant with my oldest daughter in a marital rape. My husband came home at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, completely drunk, stumbling through the walls of our bedroom. He threw up pieces of barbecue meat on the bed, on my back, on the floor. The smell of stale beer mixed with cheap whiskey was seeping through his pores. I was sleeping, recovering from a hemorrhage that had lasted 40 days because of an IUD my body rejected. The doctor had been clear. Absolute rest. No sexual relations without a condom until my body regulated itself. But Robert didn't care. He never cared about what doctors said, about what I felt, about what I wanted. But let me go back. Let me tell you how I got to that point, because none of this made sense when it all started. Nothing seemed so wrong when I was 16 and met Robert at a carnival dance in Pineville, West Virginia. It was February 1993. I had just turned 17 in November. He was 19. I was the tough girl from the working-class neighborhood, the one the boys teased but were afraid to touch. Skinny, hair cut short like a boy's, scraped knees from playing in the street, calloused hands from working in my mom's hair salon since I was 10. My cousin introduced me to him that night. "This is Robert," she said, shouting over the loud music. He smiled. An ordinary smile. Nothing special. I felt absolutely nothing. No butterflies, no goosebumps, no sign from the universe saying this boy was going to destroy the next 20 years of my life. But he looked at me differently. Like he had just found something he'd been looking for, and that should have been the first warning sign, because it wasn't love in his eyes. It was possession. From then on, he stuck. It wasn't gradual. It was immediate. The next day, he showed up at my door, and the next. He found out where I studied and started waiting for me after school. The other girls thought it was romantic. "What a passionate boyfriend you have," they'd say. I only felt claustrophobia. That feeling of being watched all the time, monitored, controlled. My mom loved him from day one. Diane, my mom, had been a widow since I was 7. My dad died in a car accident. He dropped me off at school one morning in 1983 and never came back. My mom never really recovered. She raised me and my sister with anger. She hit a lot. Flip-flops, belts, broomsticks, and medicated a lot too. When I started getting nervous as a teenager, she took me to the doctor. He prescribed Prozac. I was 15. I took heavy antidepressants for years without ever doing therapy. So when Robert showed up, my mom saw in him the solution. "What a good boy," she'd say. He had started working at 16 at the electric power company. My mom was already planning my wedding before I even turned 18. "You're becoming a woman," she'd say. "I don't want a daughter who isn't a maiden living in my house." Translation: marry soon before you cause a scandal. But there was something wrong from the start. Robert wasn't violent in the traditional sense. He didn't hit me, but he also didn't let me go. Literally. He'd cling to me, stand at my door for hours, waiting for me to come out. If I said I wanted to be alone, he'd start crying, really crying, saying he couldn't live without me. And I, at 17, thought that was love. It wasn't. It was obsession. And then the sexual abuse started. There was a stucco wall in front of my house. When it was night and Robert brought me home, I knew that if I let him take me to that dark ramp, I wouldn't come out clean. He'd corner me against that rough wall, press his body against mine. I could feel his penis getting hard, rubbing on my leg. He'd moan softly in my ear. His hands held me too tight. I tried to push. "Stop, Robert." But he wouldn't stop. He kept rubbing, faster and faster, until I felt that wet warmth on my clothes. He had come, on my pants, on my skirt. And then he'd smile, as if it were love. This happened many times. Dozens. And every time I'd sneak into the house, wash the clothes before anyone saw, and wouldn't say anything. Who was I going to tell? My mom didn't want to talk about sex, so I swallowed it. Swallowed the humiliation, the anger, the disgust. 3 months after we started dating, he got what he wanted. Full penetration. It was on a Saturday afternoon. My mom had gone out. I was home alone. He showed up. I opened the door. Fatal mistake. He came in, pushed me onto the couch, and started taking off my clothes. I said no. Said it several times. But my no meant nothing to him. It hurt. It hurt a lot. I bled. I cried. And when it was over, he looked at me there on the couch, bleeding, shaking, and said, "You weren't even a virgin," as if my pain didn't matter, as if I was worth nothing. After that day, something died inside me. It wasn't my virginity. It was my hope. I realized there was no going back. In my mom's head, my family's head, that meant I had to marry him. There was no other option. My fate was sealed. I was 17 and already knew how my life was going to end. 4 years later, in February 1997, I was in church wearing a white wedding dress. I had just turned 20. Robert was 23. People looked and said, "What a beautiful bride." But when they saw the photos later, everyone commented, "You look like you were going to a funeral." And they were right, because as I walked down that aisle, I didn't feel joy. I only felt fear and the absolute certainty that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. But I couldn't go back, so I kept walking until I reached the altar where Robert was waiting with that victorious smile. He had managed to trap the woman who never loved him in a cage that would take me years to open. Marriage didn't improve anything. It got worse. In the first month, I realized I had fallen into a trap. Robert gave me exactly $0 a week. 0. I had no access to his bank account, no credit card, not a cent that was mine. I was completely financially dependent on him, and he knew it. He liked it. "You don't need money," he'd say. "There's an open account at the supermarket," as if food paid for the humiliation of not being able to buy new underwear. Weekends were my personal hell. He'd wake up early on Saturday, grab a beer from the fridge and say, "I'm gonna brush my teeth with this." And he'd start, beer after beer, all Saturday, all Sunday. He'd drink until he was completely off balance, and then the horror show would start. Vomit, always lots of vomit, and diarrhea. He'd shit his pants, literally, a grown man, shitting his own underwear like a baby. And who cleaned it up? Me, always me. I'd wash his underwear by hand while he snored on the couch. And the sex. My God, the sex. In 10 years of marriage, I never had a single pleasurable sexual experience with Robert. Not one. It was because he had a real physical problem. His penis wasn't well formed. He had severe erectile dysfunction, couldn't maintain an erection for more than a few seconds. And when he could, he'd ejaculate immediately. So, sex with him literally lasted about 10-15 seconds. And I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling thinking, is this what it's going to be for the rest of my life? But back then, we didn't talk about these things. A woman who complained was considered a slut. Good wives endure in silence, my mom would say. So I endured in silence. And I masturbated, hidden in the bathroom when he traveled, because my body screamed for something he was never going to give me. Pleasure, connection, basic respect. Then came the pressure for children. "Where's the grandchild?" his mom would ask. I didn't want a child. Not with him. But the pressure was unbearable. Until one day I got an IUD inserted. Marina, I thought I had solved the problem. What an illusion. The IUD destroyed me. I started bleeding the day after insertion. And I didn't stop. 40 days. 40 days bleeding nonstop. I was pale, weak, anemic. Until one Friday I called Robert and asked him to take me to the doctor. "Now?" he asked, annoyed. "Can't it wait till Monday?" I started crying. "Robert, I've been bleeding for 40 days. He huffed, but agreed. The doctor removed the IUD right there. Your body rejected it. Now absolute rest, and no sexual relations without a condom until your body regulates. I understood. Robert heard too, but Robert never cared. On Saturday, Robert went to watch a football game with his boss. He left in the afternoon. I stayed home resting. Expected him back around 10 at night. But 10 passed. 11. Midnight. 1 in the morning. I tried calling. Off. 2 in the morning. Nothing. 3 in the morning. I heard the key in the door. He came in staggering, completely destroyed, drunk in a way I had never seen. The smell was unbearable. Stale beer, whiskey, sour sweat, cigarettes, and rotten food. Old barbecue. "Robert, get off me," I said. "You're drunk." He laughed. That slow, scary laugh. "You're my wife," he said, and started taking off my clothes. I tried to get out of bed, but he held me by the wrists. He weighed more than me, was taller, stronger. I was weak from the hemorrhage. "Robert, stop. The doctor said you can't. I'm still bleeding." But he didn't listen. He took off his pants. His penis was soft. He tried to get hard, but couldn't. Too drunk. So he spit in his hand and tried to shove it in anyway. It wouldn't go in. He tried again. Again. Until he finally managed to get minimally hard. And shoved it in. It hurt. I screamed in pain. He covered my mouth. "Shut up." I couldn't put a condom on him. His penis was too soft, slippery, and I was disgusted. So I gave up. And he continued. And of course, in less than 30 seconds he came. Inside me. Without protection. Exactly what the doctor had said not to do. He collapsed on top of me. Heavy. Hot. Stinking. I lay there paralyzed, feeling the semen dripping out of me. After a few minutes, I managed to push him to the side. He rolled over, snoring. I went to the bathroom, turned on the shower. Cold water. Sat on the floor and scrubbed. Scrubbed until my skin was red. But it didn't help. 4 weeks later, my period didn't come. I made an appointment for a blood test. Those 3 days waiting were the worst. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Thursday arrived. The girl at the lab handed me the envelope. Good luck. I didn't open it there. Waited to get home. When I saw the number, I didn't understand. 1,000. I'm not pregnant. But something bothered me. I called the doctor. "Doctor, my test came back 1,000. I'm not pregnant, right?" Silence. Then, "No, Rebecca. That's not 1,000. It's 1,000,000. You're pregnant, approximately 4 weeks along." The phone fell from my hand. I cried for 4 days straight, because I knew exactly when it had happened. That dawn, that filthy bed, with that drunk man who forced me. My daughter Hannah was conceived in a marital rape, and I could never say that out loud to anyone. But in my soul, I knew the truth. My first daughter was born from my greatest violation. But you know what's crazier? When Hannah was born in 1999, I loved her instantly. That crazy, fierce love that catches you by surprise. She was perfect. And suddenly my whole life started revolving around her. Not me, not my sinking marriage, but her, my Hannah, my little piece of light in the middle of all that darkness. Hannah was 1.5 years old when I got pregnant again. This time I don't even remember when it happened. My brain erased that moment from memory. And you know what my first thought was? It wasn't panic. It was strategy. Cold. Calculating. I thought, perfect. Now I'll have both his daughters. I'll get my tubes tied, and in a few years, I'll separate. He'll have to pay child support. I was already planning my escape before my second daughter was born. Rachel was born in 2001 with serious health problems. She cried all night, threw up everything, didn't gain weight. The doctors didn't know what it was. Only found out years later. Celiac disease. Her body couldn't process gluten. But until then, I lived in hell. Sick baby in my arms 24 hours a day. Hannah at 2 asking for attention. Robert drunk on the couch. And me trying not to completely lose it. It was around that time Robert really started growing in the company. Promotion after promotion. More money. We bought a better car, renovated the house. To anyone looking from the outside, we were thriving. But inside, everything was rotten. The more Robert earned, the more his arrogance grew, and the more he traveled, and the more time he had to do whatever he wanted away from my eyes. The trips started lasting longer. 15 days sometimes. He'd come back with clothes I didn't know. New shirts, new underwear. Once I found an extra toothbrush in his suitcase. Thought I'd forgotten mine. Bought another one. He explained. But his toothbrush was there, used. I didn't ask. Was afraid of the answer. One day, I found a restaurant receipt in his drawer, crumpled under the underwear. Receipt from a place in Bluefield, a city he went to for work. Dinner for 2, 2 appetizers, 2 main courses, a bottle of wine, 2 desserts. $400 at a fancy restaurant. I looked at that receipt, sitting on the floor with trembling legs, and everything made sense. The long trips, the new clothes, the different perfume. He had someone else, or others. I put the receipt back, didn't confront, because at that moment, with 2 small daughters, one sick, no money, nowhere to run, confronting was dangerous. But my body started denouncing the stress. I stopped menstruating. My hair fell out. I lost so much weight my pants fell off. Had permanent dark circles. My hands shook all the time. I developed nervous gastritis, threw up blood. The doctor prescribed more medicines, but no medicine cured what was really destroying me, being trapped in a dead marriage with a man I hated. Robert started coming home later, midnight sometimes, always with excuses, always reeking of alcohol. He'd go straight to the shower, long showers. I knew what he was doing, washing off the smell of another woman, but I didn't say anything, just pretended I was sleeping, always pretending. His sisters started looking at me differently. They'd whisper, laugh, look at me with pity mixed with contempt. Once I heard one say, "Poor Rebecca, doesn't even notice." I noticed. Of course I noticed. But admitting meant having to do something, and I didn't have a way yet. Until October 2003. Hannah had just turned 4. Rachel was 10 months old. We went to Pineville for my nephew's birthday party. Nothing elaborate. Hot dogs, soda, cake. Robert drank. The party ended around 7. Robert offered to take his dad home. "I'll drop my dad off and be right back. Won't be long. 7:30, 8, 9, 10, 11, midnight. No, Robert." My mom got irritated. "Where's that husband of yours?" Rachel started getting a fever. I felt her forehead. Too hot. I needed to take her to the emergency room. I called his cell. It rang. Went to voicemail. Called again. Off. Called 5, 6, 7 times. Nothing. 12:30. Rachel crying, burning with fever. Me desperate. I went to my cousin's house. 1 in the morning. "I need your car. My daughter has a fever and Robert disappeared." I grabbed the key, put the girls in the car, and drove through the empty streets. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. Went to my father-in-law's house. No car. "Where the hell are you, Robert?" And suddenly, that thought, he's with someone else. Right now. I drove through the main streets, went around once, twice, and then, on the 3rd lap, I saw it. A bar known in town. And there, parked right in front, was our blue SUV. I stopped. The bar had a big window. You could see inside. And there, at a table in the back, a salmon-colored shirt I knew very well. The new shirt I had bought him. My heart raced. I looked at Rachel in the back seat, sleeping now. Hannah sleeping too. I locked the car doors, crossed the street, pushed the bar door, and there he was, sitting at a full table, empty whiskey bottles, beer bottles, overflowing ashtray, 2 women with him. A brunette with long curly hair, another blonde. Robert had taken off his wedding ring, but the white mark on his finger was still there, screaming. They laughed at something. He put his hand on the brunette's shoulder. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and something inside me exploded. It wasn't anger. It was fury. Pure, primitive, murderous. I walked to the table, my flip-flop hitting hard on the cement floor. They didn't see me until I was right there. When Robert looked up and saw me, disheveled hair, in old sweatpants, red eyes, his face turned gray. The women quickly got up and disappeared. My ex-brother-in-law tried to say something, but I raised my hand. "Shut up." I looked at Robert. He tried to smile. Drunk, confused. "Rebecca, I can explode." I didn't let him finish. I grabbed an empty bottle and threw it at the wall behind him. Glass exploding. People looking. "Where's your ring, Robert?" He looked at his hand. The white mark shining. I took it off because... Lie. I grabbed his salmon shirt, pulled him close. Our faces inches apart. I could smell the sour whiskey. "Your daughter has had a fever for hours. I called you dozens of times. You turned off your cell to stay here drinking with whores." I screamed. "I didn't. They're not. Liar." I pushed him back. The bar owner came over. "Miss, please." I looked at him. "Scene? The scene is what this bastard did with my life." I looked at Robert one last time. Pathetic. "Don't come home tonight. You come home drunk like this, I'll kill you. I swear to God, I'll kill you." I left, got in the car where my daughters slept innocent, and drove back. Hands on the wheel, dry eyes, broken heart. But for the first time in 10 years, completely lucid. There was no more pretending. There was no more ignoring. Because that night, in that filthy small-town bar, I finally saw my marriage for what it really was. A giant lie built on abuse, control, and betrayal. The months that followed were a different kind of hell. Robert begged for forgiveness, cried, promised never again. But I had seen with my own eyes. Once you see, you can never unsee. We went back to our city. silent trip. Hannah asked me 3 times, "Mommy, why aren't you talking to Daddy?" I didn't answer. When we arrived, something inside me had changed. I couldn't sleep in the same bed as him anymore. Literally, my body rejected it. I'd lie in bed and start having trouble breathing, racing heart, cold sweat, panic. I got up, went to the couch. For weeks, I slept on the couch, until he exploded. "Either you come back to the bedroom or we end this." I went back, but slept on the edge, back to him, as far away as possible. I started having dark thoughts. I'd look at the medicine bottles in the bathroom cabinet and think, if I take all of these at once, all of this ends. I'd stand there, holding the pill bottle, and imagine. But then, Hannah would knock. "Mommy, I need to pee." And I'd put the bottle back, take a deep breath, and open the door. Smile at her. Always smiling, always pretending. But inside, I was dying. My weight plummeted. 115 pounds on a 5'7" body. My pants fell off. My mom commented, "You're too thin. Are you sick?" I'd say no, but I was. Soul sickness. The gastritis got so bad I threw up blood. The doctor prescribed more medicines, but no medicine cured what was really destroying me. It was around that time I made a decision. I needed my own money. There was money saved from a house we'd sold. I took part of it, about $15,000, and behind Robert's back rented a commercial space, set up a small women's clothing store. When Robert found out, he was furious. "You took the money without consulting me?" It was my money too. Half was mine, and for the first time in 10 years, I had something that was mine. The store didn't do very well. My head wasn't there, so after 2 years I sold it. But in the meantime, something more important had happened. I finally left home. It was March 2004. Robert came back from a trip drunk again, with different perfume again. When he got out of the shower, he tried to kiss me. I turned my face. He grabbed my chin hard. "How long are you going to keep avoiding me?" I pushed his hand away. He squeezed harder. It hurt. Hannah and Rachel were there, watching, scared. Hannah started crying, and something inside me broke, completely. "Get away from me," I said, low, dangerous. Now, the following Monday, when Robert left for work, I called a moving truck. "I need to get out today. I have 2 small daughters. My husband comes back at 6. They arrived at 9. 2 big men, silent. I started separating things. Left him a bed, wardrobe, stove, refrigerator, TV. Took the rest. At noon, the truck was loaded. I locked the door, threw the key in the mailbox, and left. Went to a rented house I had gotten days before. Small place, 3 bedrooms. But it was mine. My name on the contract. My freedom finally beginning. Robert got home at 6 and found a half-empty house. He called dozens of times. I didn't answer. The next day, he showed up at my new house, knocked on the door, shouted my name. "Rebecca, open this door." I didn't open. He punched the door. "You're not taking my daughters." I grabbed the phone, dialed 911. "There's a man at my door threatening me." The police arrived, took him away, gave him a warning, but didn't arrest him. And so began the real hell. The following weeks were constant persecution. He showed up every day, morning, afternoon, evening, honking, shouting, crying, begging, brought flowers, brought promises. "I've changed, Rebecca. I swear." Lies. He called 100 times a day. When I blocked him, he'd call from other phones, sent messages at dawn. "You're going to regret this. You're a horrible mother." Threats, never explicit enough to use against him. I filed for divorce in April, hired a lawyer. She looked at me, thin, pale, shaking, and said, "You need a restraining order." But I was afraid it would make him angrier. So I just asked for the divorce. Mistake. He found out days later and got really dangerous. Showed up drunk, punching the door, kicking, screaming. "You want to divorce me? I'll take those girls from you." Called the police again. They took him again. Just a warning. And the next day, he was back. The pressure became unbearable. He'd call crying, "Please let me see my daughters." And I'd let him, because legally he had the right. Hannah asked for her dad all the time, so I let him come on Saturdays. He'd pick up the girls, bring them back at night, and every time, he tried to come in, tried to touch me. Just one chance. I'd say no. Close the door. But the guilt remained. My mom didn't help. She sided with him. "You have to go back, Rebecca. He's your daughter's father. He cheats on me, Mom. He abuses me. All men cheat. What matters is that he gives you a house, money. The rest you endure." Endure. That word. I stopped calling my mom, because she was never going to understand. The months waiting for the divorce were agony. Robert stopped paying support. I was left with no money. Started cleaning houses, washing clothes, doing nails at home. $10, $15 per client. Anything to buy food. There was a month I didn't pay rent. The landlady gave me time. Pay when you can. But the humiliation hurt. Hurt more than hunger. Because it was confirmation that alone I couldn't manage. And Robert counted on it. He expected me to come back crawling. But I didn't go back. No matter how much it hurt, no matter how many nights I stayed awake trying to stretch $20, no matter how many times I cried in the shower, I didn't go back. Because deep down, I knew. Going back meant dying. Not literally, but dying inside. And I had 2 daughters looking at me. I didn't want them to grow up thinking women have to endure, that women have to stay, that women have no choice. The divorce was finalized in November 2004. Quick hearing. Robert was there with his lawyer. Me with mine. The judge divided the assets. He kept everything. I didn't want anything. "Are you sure?" my lawyer asked. "I don't want anything from him. I just want to be free." So it was decided. Him with the assets. Me with custody. Child support. $400 a month. It was little, but it was something. That night, I sat on the floor of my empty living room. Not enough furniture, no pictures, nothing that looked like home. And for the first time in months, I didn't cry. Just breathed deep, and thought, I survived. I don't know how, but I survived. And in that moment, I promised myself, never again. Never again would I let a man control me. Never again would I accept crumbs and call it love. Never again. 6 months after the divorce, something unexpected happened. I met real love for the first time. It was at the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle with the girls, trying to make $20 last the week. A man bumped into me, knocked the cereal box from my hand. "Sorry," he said, bending down. Our eyes met when he stood up, and there was something there, something I had never felt before. "Let me pay for your cereal. It's the least I can do." I laughed. "You don't have to, but I want to." That simple gesture, a stranger paying for a $3 box of cereal, opened a door I didn't know was locked. We started talking right there. His name was Daniel, building materials salesman, also divorced, no kids. And for the next 6 years, he taught me what it was to be truly loved. Daniel was everything Robert never was. Kind, but not manipulative. Attentive, but not controlling. He'd ask me how my day was and really listen. Made me laugh. Made me feel beautiful for the first time since ever. He met the girls a few weeks later, came over for dinner, brought pizza, ice cream, a toy for each one. Didn't try to be their father, just was himself. And Hannah and Rachel loved him immediately. And the sex. My God, the sex. The first time I slept with Daniel, about 3 months after we met, was a revelation. He went slow, asked me if everything was okay at every step, waited for me to relax. And when it finally happened, when he entered me carefully, looking in my eyes, asking if it felt good, I started crying, not from pain, from relief, because for the first time in my life, sex didn't hurt, wasn't disgusting. It was pleasure. I was 27 and discovering for the first time what it was to have an orgasm with a partner. Daniel noticed I was crying and stopped. "Did I hurt you?" "No," I said, laughing and crying. "Don't stop. For God's sake, don't stop." And he didn't. And it was beautiful. Daniel helped me financially too, but never in a humiliating way. When he saw I was tight on money, he'd bring groceries by accident, would pay for pizza as a casual gesture, gave me money once when my car broke down. Pay when you can. No rush. He treated me as an equal, not as charity. With him, gradually, I rebuilt my self-esteem. I laughed again, sang again. The girls noticed. "Mommy's happier," Hannah said once. And she was right. For the first time in over a decade, I was genuinely happy. But Robert didn't accept it. He kept showing up. Now, with jealousy. "Who's this guy with my daughters?" Lies. The girls never called Daniel stepdad. But Robert made things up. He started investigating. Found out where Daniel lived. Showed up there drunk, shouting. Daniel came out, tried to talk calmly. Robert went after him, punched him. Neighbors called the police. Robert was arrested for the first time. Spent a night in jail. Next day, released on bail, and got even angrier. Started spreading lies. That I was a prostitute. That I used drugs. That I mistreated the girls. Lies that some people believed. My mom called. Rebecca, Robert came here crying, saying you won't let him see the girls, that you have a boyfriend who hits them. I took a deep breath. Mom, none of that is true. He sees them every week. Daniel has never laid a finger on them. It's Robert who's drunk, who's violent. Silence. Then, but you know how Robert is when he drinks. You have to be patient. He still loves you. That broke me differently. It wasn't anger. It was deep sadness. My own mother, defending my abuser. Mom, I need to hang up. And I hung up. Cried afterwards. For the mother I never had. For the mother who never protected me. And I realized I was alone in this fight. Really alone. But it was okay. Because alone was better than betrayed by my own family. In 2009, 5 years after the divorce, my aunt who lived in Spain called. Rebecca, why don't you come spend some time here? See Europe, take a break? I thought it was crazy. Leave my daughters, travel to another country? But my aunt insisted. I'll pay for your ticket. You stay with me. Work a little, save money, breathe. You need this. And something inside me said, go. I talked to Daniel. He completely supported it. You deserve this. Go. The girls will be fine with me and your ex on weekends. I talked to the girls. Hannah was 10. Rachel, 7. Mommy's going to travel for a few months. You're going to stay with Daddy. Hannah didn't like it. Why? It's temporary. Mommy's coming back. It was the hardest decision, leaving them. But it was also the most necessary, because I was drowning. And if I didn't breathe, I wouldn't be good for anyone. I arrived in Spain in July 2009. I was 32, thin, exhausted, with my heart in pieces from leaving my daughters. But when I got off the plane and felt the different air, heard the different language, saw a completely new world opening in front of me, something inside me awakened. It was as if I had been living asleep and had finally woken up. My aunt received me with a tight hug. Welcome to your new life. And she wasn't exaggerating, because Spain changed everything. I started working in a week. Restaurant at first, then a beauty salon. The money wasn't much, but it was honest. It was mine. And for the first time, I had real freedom. Nobody controlling me. Nobody persecuting me. Nobody drunk showing up at the door. I started going out with my aunt's friends. Free, independent women who worked, traveled, lived without asking permission. We went to the beach, to clubs, to parties. Me, at 32, finally living the youth I never had. Dancing, laughing, being free. And it was incredible. It was liberating. It was like growing wings I didn't know existed. I met men, several. I'm not ashamed to admit it. After years of forced celibacy with Robert, after years being treated like an object, I finally explored my own sexuality, on my terms, with whom I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted, and it was powerful. It wasn't about the men. It was about me, about reclaiming my own body. And I learned so much. I learned I wasn't ugly like Robert always said. I learned men could desire me and respect me at the same time. I learned sex could be fun, could be light, could be pleasurable. I learned I had value, a lot of value, and nobody was ever going to convince me otherwise again. The following years were of coming and going. I'd work in Spain, save money, come back to see the girls every 3-4 months. And gradually, I built a real life in Spain, rented my own apartment, opened my own small salon, made real friends, dated, broke up, dated again, lived, really lived. For the first time, I wasn't defined by any man. I wasn't Diane's daughter. I wasn't Robert's ex-wife. I was just Rebecca. And Rebecca was enough. Rebecca was complete. Rebecca was finally at peace. In 2016, 7 years after arriving in Spain, I made the final decision. I was going to bring my daughters to live with me, permanently. They were 17 and 14, old enough to understand, to choose. I talked to them. Do you want to come live with me in Spain? Have a new life? Study here? Work here? Hannah agreed immediately. Rachel hesitated, but then agreed. Robert didn't want to let them go. Of course not. Filed legal action. Said I was kidnapping them. That I didn't have the means to raise them. That I was unstable. Lied again. I hired a lawyer. Spent all the money I had saved. Daniel helped me financially again. Even after we had ended the relationship years before, he continued being my friend, my support. The legal battle lasted 8 months. Until finally, in December 2016, the judge authorized it. The girls could go. I won. Finally, after 12 years of fighting, I won. I brought Hannah and Rachel to Spain in January 2017. It was starting over again, but this time together. I enrolled them in school, got documentation, started the process for dual citizenship, helped them adapt. New language, new culture, new friends. It was hard at first. They missed the United States, friends, even their dad. But gradually they fit in. Hannah entered college for marketing. Rachel finished high school and entered business administration. They worked part-time, studied, made their lives. And I watched with pride. Pride at having managed to give them what I never had. Freedom, choice, possibility. They didn't need to marry young to escape. Didn't need to depend on men to survive. They had education, profession, autonomy. I had broken the cycle. Finally. But Robert never stopped. Even from afar, the persecution continued. He found my Facebook, started sending messages through the girls, asked for photos. At first I sent them. He was their father, after all. But then the messages got strange. Invasive. You look prettier. Are you dating someone? I blocked him. He created fake profiles, insisted. And then, in 2015, the worst happened. I had given the girls an old computer of mine, from when I had a small document management office. I formatted it before giving it to them, or thought I had. Robert got that computer when the girls still lived with him, managed to restore the data, recovered old email and Facebook passwords I didn't even use anymore, and found photos. My photos. Some sensual, nothing pornographic, just underwear photos, bikini photos, photos I had taken and sent to boyfriends over the years, photos that were mine, private. And he did the unthinkable. He took those photos, digitally altered some, putting my face on naked bodies that weren't mine, and posted them on Facebook. On my Facebook, which he had managed to access. Posted saying I was a high-class prostitute, escort, put my phone number, wrote comments asking how much my service cost. This was on a Saturday morning. In half an hour, over 100 people had seen it. My family, friends, salon clients. A friend called me desperate. "Rebecca, look at your Facebook." My heart stopped. I logged in, saw it, and the world collapsed again. The humiliation was instant, visceral, devastating. I managed to delete the posts in minutes, changed all passwords, but the damage was done. People had seen, took screenshots, spread them, and many believed. So that's why she has money. So that's how she lives in Europe. It even affected my reputation. My work, my dignity. I filed a police report, digital crime, privacy violation, defamation. But the police said it was going to be hard to prove it was him. He's in the United States. We're here. Complicated jurisdiction. So nothing happened. He was never punished. And worse, he sent those photos to my daughters, to Hannah and Rachel. They saw them. And for the first time, they looked at me with something that seemed like shame. "Mom, what are these photos?" Hannah asked that night. I tried to explain. They're old photos, private. Your father stole them and altered them. It's not me in those doctored photos. And the others are just my normal photos that he spread to humiliate me. But I saw in their eyes the seed of doubt, the unspoken question, could it be true? And it hurt. Hurt more than anything Robert had ever done. Because this time, he had contaminated the relationship with my own daughters. It took me months to recover from that attack. Went back on high-dose antidepressants. Started real therapy for the first time. A Spanish psychologist who helped me process not just that attack, but all the accumulated trauma of decades. The sessions were tough. She made me talk about things I had buried deep. About the rape that created Hannah. About the years of sexual abuse. About the lack of support from my family. And I cried. Cried every session. But I also left lighter, as if each tear carried a bit of the poison out. Gradually, I started understanding. Nothing that happened was my fault. I didn't ask to be abused. I didn't deserve to be controlled. I wasn't crazy. I was a victim, and victims aren't to blame. This understanding was revolutionary, changed everything. But my daughters were pulling away, not all at once. It was gradual. Hannah started spending more time away. I'm going to sleep at a friend's house. I'm going to travel for the weekend. Rachel too. Fewer conversations, fewer hugs, more uncomfortable silences. I tried to talk. Girls, we need to talk about those photos. You know it's not true, right? We know, Mom, Hannah would say. But the tone was cold, distant, as if I had done something wrong, as if having private photos leaked was my fault. And I started understanding. They were ashamed. Ashamed of me, of the mother who talked openly about sex, of the mother who had boyfriends, of the mother who didn't fit their ideal of a modest, silent, asexual mother. In 2022, I started a new relationship. Miguel, a 45-year-old Spaniard, owner of a construction company. Good man, hardworking, stable, affectionate. But from the start, I felt something was wrong. He was kind, but also controlling in subtle ways, asked where I was all the time, got insecure when I went out with friends, wanted access to my phone. It's just to show we trust each other. And I, who had sworn never to accept control again, started accepting again. Small things. It's not a big deal, I thought. He's just being jealous because he loves me. What a lie. Jealousy is never love. Jealousy is always control. But I was tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of being strong all the time. And Miguel was good. Wasn't abusive like Robert. So I stayed. My daughters liked Miguel at first. But as my relationship with him got more serious, they started pressuring. You should marry him, Mom. He's a good man. Don't let him get away. Marry. Again that word. That prison disguised as security. I don't want to get married, I said. I like him, but I'm fine like this. Hannah sighed. You're getting old, Mom. You won't have many chances like this. Old. I was 45. I wasn't old. But to them, I was already past my expiration date. And that hurt me deeply. I realized that somehow, despite all my efforts, they had absorbed the same sexist beliefs that destroyed my life. Women need men. Women need to marry. Women have an expiration date. And I had failed to teach differently. The relationship with Miguel lasted 2 years. And in those 2 years, I started wilting again. Not as drastically as with Robert, but wilting, losing my spark. Because Miguel wanted a version of me that didn't exist. Wanted the well-behaved Rebecca, quiet, who stayed home waiting, who didn't go out drinking with friends, who didn't talk to other men, who had no past. And I tried to be that person. Really tried. Because I was exhausted of starting over. But my body knew. My body always knows. I started having insomnia again, anxiety again, my stomach churning. And one day, in February 2023, I simply woke up and knew. I need to end this. Now. Before it gets worse. Before I completely disappear again. I broke up with Miguel on a Tuesday afternoon. He didn't understand. But why? We're good. No, Miguel. You're good. I'm dying. I tried to explain. The control, the pressure, the feeling of erasing myself. He didn't listen. Got angry. You're crazy. You don't know what you want. You're throwing away a good relationship. Crazy. That word again. Every time a woman sets a boundary, she's crazy. Every time a woman says no, she's crazy. Maybe, I said. But this crazy woman here is ending this. And I ended it. He left slamming the door. Sent messages for weeks. I blocked everything. And breathed. Again. That breath of freedom. Painful. Lonely. But free. Hannah and Rachel were furious with me. You're throwing everything away again, Mom. You're never satisfied. You always find problems where there aren't any. They didn't understand. And it was around that time that Robert, somehow knowing I had broken up with Miguel, decided to attack again. Sent those old photos again. This time, directly to my daughters through WhatsApp. With messages. This is what your mother does. This is how she makes a living. Do you think she works honestly? Poison. Pure poison. And this time, it worked. Because my daughters were already angry at me. And that was the last straw. Hannah called me on a Friday night. Cold voice. distant. "Mom, we need some time." My heart sank. "What do you mean time? We don't want to talk to you for a while. We need space." I tried to understand. But why? What did I do? "You know what you did? We're tired, Mom. Tired of being ashamed. Tired of you talking about sex all the time. Tired of you destroying good relationships. Tired of everything. Ashamed. They were ashamed of me. The daughter who was born from a rape was telling me she was ashamed of me. Hannah, listen. Your father is manipulating you. Those photos. We don't want to hear about the photos, Mom. We don't want to hear anything. Leave us alone." And she hung up. Rachel sent a message later. "I agree with Hannah. We need space. Don't call us." And that was it. From 1 hour to the next, I had lost my daughters. I fell into deep depression. It wasn't sadness. It was complete emptiness. Would wake up and see no reason to get up. My daughters, the only reasons I had endured everything, abandoned me. I had fought so hard, had sacrificed so much, had left an abusive marriage, had crossed an ocean, had worked 3 jobs at the same time to pay for their college, and they abandoned me. For photos I didn't post, for a sexuality that was mine, for refusing to stay in a relationship that was killing me. Went back on heavy medication. Started therapy 3 times a week. Because the dark thoughts came back. Those thoughts of ending it all. My therapist was firm with me. "Rebecca, you need to understand. Your daughters are adults now. They made a choice. Cruel, but a choice. And you can't control that. The only thing you can control is how you react. But they're my daughters, and they always will be. But now you need to focus on you, on staying alive, on staying whole. For you, not for them." It was hard to hear, but it was true. I had spent my whole life living for others. For Robert first, trying not to provoke his fury. Then for the girls, trying to be a good mother. But never for me. Never thinking, what does Rebecca want? What does Rebecca need? At 47 years old, I didn't know how to answer that question. And it was time to learn. I spent 2023 rebuilding. Again. Because it seems like my life is endless cycles of rebuilding. But this time was different. This time it wasn't for anyone. It was for me. I stopped waiting for my daughters to call me. Stopped sending unanswered messages. Let them go. Did it hurt? Like nothing ever hurt. But it was also liberating. Because finally, I had nobody left to please. Nobody to impress. Nobody whose love I needed to deserve. It was just me. And I had to learn to be enough for myself. I started doing things I always wanted but never did. Learned photography. Started writing. Diary first. Then texts about my life. Traveled alone to cities I always wanted to see. Barcelona. Paris. Lisbon. Short, cheap trips. But mine. Totally mine. And I went to the doctor to take care of old pains. My spine was destroyed. Years carrying weight. Working standing up. Accumulated stress. Needed surgery in October 2023. It was risky, expensive, painful, but necessary. Spent 3 months recovering. Couldn't work. Couldn't do almost anything. And for the first time in my life, I stopped. Completely stopped. No work. No daughters. No boyfriend. Just me, in a bed, recovering. And in that forced silence, I finally heard my own voice. Not the voice of trauma, not the voice of anger, but the voice of the real Rebecca. The girl who wanted to be free, the woman who deserved to be free. And she said, "You made it. You escaped. You survived. Now live. Really live." By the end of 2023, I was better. Physically still recovering. Financially tight. The surgery had been expensive, and I hadn't worked in months. But emotionally, stronger than ever. Because finally, I had made peace with my past. Accepted that some wounds never completely close. Accepted that my daughters might never forgive me for being human, for having sexuality, for not being perfect, and accepted that it was okay. I don't need their forgiveness to have value. I don't need anyone's approval to exist. In January 2024, I received a message from Hannah, after almost a year of silence. "Mom, happy birthday." Just that. Nothing more. Part of me wanted to respond immediately, pour out everything I had been holding in for months. But I took a deep breath, waited a few hours, and replied simply, "Thank you, daughter." I didn't beg, didn't justify myself, just thanked her. Because I learned, whoever wants to stay, stays. Whoever doesn't, goes. And forcing never solves anything. So I left the door open, but didn't wait on the other side. I continued my life. Went back to work in March. Opened a small photography studio. New career, new beginning. I don't earn much, but I earn enough. And for the first time in my life, enough is really enough. Today I'm 48 years old. I'm single. I live alone in a small but cozy apartment in Barcelona. I work with photography, portraits mainly, women who want to see themselves beautiful, powerful, free. I don't make much money. Some months are tight, but I have enough. I have food in the fridge, a roof over my head, clothes in the closet, and more importantly, I have peace. This peace that cost me 20 years of fighting, tears, blood, peace that's priceless. I wake up in the morning and don't have to walk on eggshells, don't have to calculate each word, don't have to serve anyone but myself. And this simple freedom of being, is everything. My daughters and I have sporadic contact now. We haven't become close again. Maybe we never will. Hannah sends birthday messages, Christmas, Mother's Day, superficial conversations, nothing deep. Rachel is even more distant. Does it hurt? It will always hurt. They're my daughters. I carried them, nursed them, raised them alone in impossible times. But I understood I can't force it. They need to make their own journey, and maybe one day they'll understand. Maybe when they're older, when they have their own relationships, their own children, maybe they'll understand what I went through, what I survived, what I sacrificed, or maybe not, and that's okay too, because I can't live waiting for their validation. My life can't depend on someone finally recognizing my value. I know my value, and that's enough. Robert still tries to reach me sometimes. Fake profiles on social media, messages from unknown numbers. Always the same thing, trying to bring me down, spread lies. But it has no effect anymore. Because I built a life here where nobody knows my past. Nobody knows I was married to an abuser. I'm just Rebecca, the photographer, the woman who always has a smile, who makes clients laugh, who captures beauty where others don't see it. And this Rebecca, this free, light, genuine version of me, she's real. More real than any version that existed in the first 30 years of my life. Robert can try to tarnish this version, but he can't anymore, because she's not within his reach. She's protected by 6,000 miles of ocean, and by something stronger, my complete indifference. I learned many things in all these years. I learned that love never hurts, never controls, never diminishes. If it hurts, if it controls, if it diminishes, it's not love. It's something else in disguise. I learned that he only does this because he loves you is the most dangerous lie told to women. Nobody hurts who they love. Nobody humiliates who they love. Nobody controls who they love. I learned that jealousy isn't proof of love. It's proof of insecurity. And his insecurity should never be your responsibility to fix. I learned that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't make excuses. Don't justify. Don't minimize. Believe and leave. I learned that leaving early is always better than leaving late. But leaving late is always better than never leaving. It doesn't matter how many years you invested. It doesn't matter how many kids you have. It doesn't matter what people will say. All that matters is if you can breathe in that relationship, if you can be yourself, if you can sleep in peace. And if the answer is no to any of these questions, then leave. Today. Now. Because every day you stay is a day stolen from the life you could be living, from the woman you could be. And you deserve to live. You deserve to be. Completely. Without fear. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes family is the friend who takes you in when you have nowhere to go. The therapist who helps you process without judging. The stranger at the grocery store who buys your cereal and opens the door to something beautiful. Family is whoever stays, who supports, who believes in you when you don't believe in yourself. And if your blood family doesn't do that, that's okay. Build a new one, from scratch, with people who choose you every day, and let go of those who don't choose you back. Even if it's your mother, even if it's your daughters, let go, because staying trapped trying to earn love from those who don't want to love you is a worse prison than any abusive marriage. I learned that sexuality isn't shame, that having desires is normal, that sleeping with as many people as you want is your choice, that taking sensual photos for whoever you want is your right, and that nobody has the right to humiliate you for living your sexuality freely. I learned that women don't have an expiration date. I'm 48 and feel more beautiful, more powerful, more alive than at 20, because beauty isn't smooth skin. It's confidence. It's looking in the mirror and liking who you see. It's walking down the street with your head high knowing your worth. And that only comes with age, with experience, with earned scars. I learned that depression isn't weakness, that seeking help isn't weakness, that taking medicine doesn't make you less strong. That therapy saves lives. Literally. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for therapy. I'll probably be taking antidepressants for the rest of my life. And that's okay. Just like diabetics take insulin, I take medicine for my brain. It's not shame. It's survival. It's care. It's self-love. And if you're in that dark place where I was, where holding a bottle of pills seems like a solution, please, seek help. Call a suicide prevention hotline. Go to a hospital. Call someone. Anyone. Because I guarantee you, it passes. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But it passes. And on the other side, there's life. There's light. There's freedom worth every tear shed along the way. I learned that forgiving doesn't mean going back. Many people confuse this. Forgiving isn't letting him back in your life. Forgiving is releasing the anger that consumes you from the inside. It's making peace with the past, so it doesn't poison your future. Did I forgive Robert? In the sense that I don't spend nights awake planning revenge, don't feel anger boiling when I think of him. Yes, I forgave, but that doesn't mean he deserves space in my life. Doesn't mean I forgot. Doesn't mean it was okay. It just means I don't let him have power over my thoughts anymore, over my emotions, over my peace. He existed. He hurt me. And now he doesn't exist for me anymore. Simple as that. I learned that starting over has no limit. You can start over as many times as you need. At 20, at 30, at 40, at 50. There's no such thing as too late. As long as you're breathing, you can change, can leave, can rebuild. Am I on my third, fourth restart? I lost count, and each time I get better at it. Because each restart teaches me something, strengthens me, shows me I'm more resilient than I imagined. So if you're thinking, oh, but I'm already 40 years old, 2 kids, no money, I had all that, and I left, and I survived, and today I'm happy. You can too, I swear you can. About money, you don't need a lot to leave. You need courage and a basic plan. Save what you can. Even if it's $5 a week. Open a bank account he doesn't know about. Separate important documents. Make copies of everything. If possible, look for shelters for women victims of domestic violence. Look for a social worker. A lawyer who does pro bono. Organizations that help. Help exists. You just need to look. And take the first step. The first step is always the hardest. But after the first comes the second. And the third. And suddenly you look back and you're far. Finally far. And for the daughters who one day read this, Hannah, Rachel, if you ever see this, I want you to know, I love you. Always loved you. Always will love you. Nothing that happened changes that. But I also want you to understand, I'm human. I have sexuality. I have desires. I have the right to live my life the way I choose. And I'm not going to apologize for that anymore. I'm not going to make myself small to fit into your expectations. I did that my whole life with your father. I don't do it anymore. You can be ashamed of me, can judge me, can choose not to have contact. I respect that. But know that when you decide to come back, if you decide, I'll be here. Maybe not in the same way, maybe with more boundaries, but I'll be here. Because a mother's love doesn't end. It just transforms. Today, when I look in the mirror, I see gray hair I don't hide anymore. Silver, I call it, not gray. I see wrinkles around my eyes, earned in laughter and tears. I see a body that carried 2 lives, that worked 3 jobs at the same time, that survived spinal surgery. A body that's not perfect by magazine standards, but it's mine, and I like it. I respect it. I treat it well now, because it carried me for so long, through so much horror, and never gave up. So I don't give up on it. I dress it well. I feed it well. I move it. I rest it. I celebrate it. because it's the only home I can never abandon. And finally, it's a home where I feel safe. Today is a normal day. I woke up early, made coffee, sat on the balcony of my small apartment. The sun is rising over Barcelona. The city is waking up slowly. Soon I'll go to the studio. I have 3 clients scheduled, women who want to feel beautiful. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to capture their beauty, their strength, their essence, because that's what I do now. I see beauty where others don't, including in myself. And this ability to see myself, to value myself, to respect myself, cost a lot. Cost a marriage, cost family, cost years of therapy and rivers of tears. But I paid the price, and now I harvest the fruit. And the fruit is sweet. It's peace on a Sunday morning. It's hot coffee I make the way I like it. It's freedom to choose. It's power to say no. It's autonomy over every inch of my life. It's waking up and not being afraid. It's sleeping and not having nightmares. It's living, really living, not just surviving. And if I manage to get out of that dark hole where I was, believe me, you can too. The door is there. You just need to have the courage to turn the handle. And on the other side, there's life. There's light. There's you, waiting to be reborn. So go, fly, be free. Because freedom is the best gift you can give yourself. And you deserve it. Always deserved it. You just needed someone to remind you of that. I'm reminding you now. You deserve it. You're strong. You're capable. You're enough. And your life is waiting for you on the other side of fear. Go. I'm rooting for you. All of us who went through this are. You're not alone. You never were. And you're going to make it. I know you will. Because if I made it, you can too.